Oh, welcoming into the studio now, Cedric the Entertainer.
What's up, man?
How are you? He's got a novel out, man. You are.
Yeah.
You're.
I'm out here, reading for reading Rainbow for the kids.
Yeah. Do you have to be able to read to write?
Yeah, I think so. But now we got audiobooks now, so
Perfect.
a lot of times it's just like talking to the kids, like a substitute teacher.
Yeah.
Just dictate. You dictate and someone else writes it down.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. That's the new world of book writing for sure.
When do you feel any type of way about audiobooks? Like, does it bother you at all that you're slaving away for the written page? And the idea that someone's like, I don't know if I'll go to all the trouble to read it, but I'll put it on in the car.
Well, actually that's been the way I like to ride to work now. Like, so I listen to a lot of audiobooks, which makes me think I'm a great reader. So I say that a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, I read that book. It's a complete lie.
No, you did read the book. That's the thing.
No, you didn't.
We knock ourselves and we go, I didn't read it, but you listen to it. I think that's smarter. I think you're an idiot if you sit there with a book in front of you. You're much smarter if you walk somewhere and you listen to it.
You think that's smarter?
You're absorbing the information.
Oh.
And then how people go like, I'm gonna take a book with me on vacation and sit there and read the book. I'm asleep.
Yeah.
Anytime I read anything, 2.5 pages, I'm asleep.
I'm the same way.
Like,
You realize like halfway down the page, I have no idea what's happening in this book. I gotta go back.
again.
Why a novel? Did you always want to do it, or did somebody suggest it?
No, this was something that I would hear these family stories about my grandfather. And then just like any great tale, you start to imagine everything else that went around it. And so that's exactly, he passed before I was born. But when I would think about him, I could just visualize his whole day. So that made me want to just kind of create a world around who he was. And so that's what I started to do. I just, I had small stories that I can only imagine everything else that happened. And so that allowed me to bring him to life in my mind. And and in this story, so it's great, and I can do it all the time. So I wrote this in the sense that it could be serial. We can have like more books if we wanted to.
You just kind of fell in love with this is the character.
Yeah,
it's about the character.
And it takes place in like the Depression, right around then.
Yeah, right after World War II. It's late. It's like 1948, that area.
Yeah.
What did your family do when you were a kid?
Yeah, so my grandmother and my grandfather had a restaurant. They used to have a restaurant. It was a riverboat city. Where back then too, it was wasn't a lot of interstate, so people actually used the river to get up and down the country, and especially the Mississippi. And so these little small towns actually had a lot of energy to them. But they had a restaurant. They had like a small kind of hotel for the black musicians that would come stay in this town. Then my grandfather was also a bootlegger, and so you get all that in the book because they moved liquor. Him and the sheriff, they were friends, and so I added all of these things to the storytelling to put him in a crime caper situation. So it's dope. The book is fun.
Did you go to any older relatives and talk to them about like, hey, what was he like, or what was this like? People that remember him.
Yeah, mainly his kids, my mom and my uncle. Those were the ones. It was a couple of people around. Like again, it was one lady that knew a little bit. She kind of gave me like his friend group and some of the other things he did, but that was it. Like most of the people that were around when he was around, they were all gone. Everybody had passed by the time I started to really do the research on this book.
And you look back like, shit, I had all those people I could have asked questions to, and I didn't think of it while they were here.
Man, that's the acknowledgement I put in the back of the book more than anything. I definitely want to encourage people because we've just gotten to a space where we don't really know like our relatives like that. I was saying my kids, they probably know like 4 to 6 of their cousins. I grew up knowing 30, 20 cousins. Like, you know your whole family, you spend time together. But now, 1 or 2 of your relatives. And so go back, man. If you got elders in your family, talk to them. You'll find out a lot about who you are. You'll be surprised some of the habits you have. These things exist in your family before, and even dreams and aspirations, that question of like, what did my family do? Like these things you start to understand, like why I have so many educators in my family. My grandmother was she taught the local kids and was a midwife and did these things, and then my mother became a teacher. Now my sister's a teacher. So education is like kind of run in our family. And then on the men's side, everybody was kind of like hustlers and dreamers, and people wanted to do bigger things. Nobody wanted to have a job. And not like street hustlers, but this aspiration that they had that entrepreneurial energy. That kind of comes from my grandfather.
So is that why you're always trying like new things? Because you've done everything, like sitcom work, movie work, stand up, reality show, writing.
Yeah.
Like it's like wherever there's a lane to go down, it feels like that's the one that you're like, yeah, I can do that. Let me put everything into it.
Yeah, man, definitely. I wish I was born as an athlete too, because I would have tried to do that. But it is that idea of like anything that I feel like is doable for me. I'm gonna try it, and so and I've been very blessed to be able to do that. Broadway movie, like you say, stand up, sitcoms, movies, dramas. Even do a little bit of drama roles here and there. So I just want to continue on that path and try to be an example in that way that people you don't have to put yourself in the box. Even if the town wants to put you in the box, don't believe you have to be in it.
And don't sell yourself short about being an athlete, because I'm a WWE fan.
Yeah.
I saw you get in the ring.
You saw that, yeah.
I saw you get in the ring a while
mainly
back.
About the shorts and the cape. That was different. That was really an outfit choice what I was going for there.
Well, it was a really interesting era because it was like at a time when WWE was bringing a lot of celebrities in to do stuff week to week, and as somebody who watches week to week, you could always spot the difference. Like some celebrities would come in and just put nothing in, and it sucked, and it was like they didn't want to be there, you could tell. And then other celebrities would come in, and they'd go hard. Everything, and it felt like you made that conscious decision, like, if we're doing this.
We grew up in that era where wrestling was really, like, fun to watch, too, and I think, and that was one of the things that I remember, like, in St. Louis, they used to have a whole thing called Wrestling at the Chase, and the wrestlers would come. And so, you knew these guys. And so that idea of giving them a show and you walk out and being a villain, you got to lock into that part, man.
You believed it. By the way, it was believable.
That's so true.
My father took me when I was a kid. I remember Sergeant Slaughter walking through, and I remember wanting to spit on him. I was a kid. I didn't do it, but I remember just thinking, like, I got to spit on him. And I just knew it would have been a bad move. I was probably like 11 years old. But you bought into it when you were a kid.
Yeah. I mean, you had the Sheik and Tojo Yamamoto. Look at that. You would be canceled. You can't call that man
Tojo
can't. Yamamoto anymore.
But that was the goal, right? You would want people to show up and want to stab somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like you'd show up with people would show up with weapons.
Weapons and
because they wanted to stab Tojo Yamamoto.
Andre the Giant.
Yeah. How did the guys there react to you going like, yeah, I want to go all the way in? Were they like very welcoming when they found that out?
They did. That was the thing about it. That's the Raw, Friday Night Raw. I think that was the big one. Monday Night Raw. Yeah. It was like that. But they want to put on a good show. So, and I had a guy that was like my double, so that he was going to take all the like falls and everything, the real falls. And he was just, what do you want me to do? You want it? What do you want to do? Do you like a guy that want to look like you got thrown over the rope? I'm like, yes. I'm not going to actually be the one, but you're going to do it for me as my double? Yes, throw me over the rope.
Wait, they bring a double in front of the audience?
It's weird. They slide them out somehow, like, and then they do the work. They do.
But there's a live audience there.
They're right there.
But how does
it's wrestling, man? Nobody knows. It's just like real wrestling. You can look at it and go, oh,
yeah,
and it's not him, but they believe it.
We get
it's a show.
Yeah, it's
Who
a
cares?
show.
Who cares?
I get on the ground, he gets thrown around, then I go and lay down. The guy gets on top of me, counts me out, and then I flip him over, and then I win.
Yeah. Boom. You get to walk out with a W.
Then the crowd boos me.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get called back next week for being the new villain.
What's the hardest out of all those things that you like, Sam? Writing, stand-up, what's the hardest for you out of all those?
I think, for me, it was definitely writing this novel because it was just one of these things where, like, you got to keep the plot. You need to keep, like, the story alive, where you're going. And you have to do that in stand-up, too, where if you start a joke, especially if it's one that you end up calling back a couple of times, you got to really know the point. But that's something that I feel like we end up doing naturally as stand-ups. You just kind of find your rhythm in the way you tell a joke. But in a book, it's story, it's plot points, it's things that you got to satisfy for readers, and so that became a little, that's where you have to kind of dig deep and do a lot more work. That's probably the toughest one. That and the time I did Broadway, because Broadway is another one where the playwright, the words that they wrote is the most important thing. You don't have the ability to kind of like jump off the page and do it yourself or improv a moment or just trust your natural instinct, especially, like, again, as comedians, you just like, yo, sometime a moment will happen, I just go freestyle. You can't do that on Broadway.
Or acknowledge when it's bad. Like if something goes wrong, the best part of stand-up is you can acknowledge it and,
Right.
and make it okay and make it funny. But actors on Broadway just looks terrifying because if it's bombing or if it's wrong, you have to live in it.
Yeah, exactly. You just ride it out. That's it, man. So that was a tough one. It was smart. And then I did it with John Leguizamo and Haley Joel Osment. So people that were really pro actors. So it was a good space. And I look forward to doing that again. But that was probably the toughest, like experience of like individual growth, if you will, like in doing something entertaining wise.
How was game show hosting?
Yeah, I had fun game
Yeah.
show hosting, I mean, the big thing was, is that you do so many shows in a day. People don't know, like you're knocking them down like 5 shows in a row. Like so after a while, people think that you're really smart because you see the answers, but it just goes out. Like soon as they say rap, I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you one survey said.
When you're watching the shows back, can you tell when you're okay? That was the 5th in a line.
Yeah,
like, can you tell on your face, like, oh, I was dying. I was dying.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Like I'm not even wearing a hat anymore. Like, I'm totally just like sitting there, like, yeah. Come on, bring it on. Who wants to be a millionaire? Everybody does, don't you?
How long did you do it?
I did it for 1 season, and it was great. We shot it here, and then they were moving it to Connecticut, and I was like, I'm good.
Yeah.
It seems like once you get into the rhythm, we were talking about Drew Carey the other day. Once you're in the rhythm of doing 5 or 6 a day, it's probably a great gig because you work a couple times a month.
Yeah, but not if you have to go to Connecticut.
Yeah. Because I saw Drew Carey not too long ago. We did like the celebrity version of it, and you're right. He was very content, and I thought after his success of his TV show and being a cool stand-up that he would not love that job for as long as he's been doing it, but. You're right. Once you kind of get into it, you get that rhythm. It's like, hey, man, just get this big check and I'm good.
That's it.
I got an easy schedule.
Yeah.
I'm done on Thursday at like 4 o'clock.
Not only do I not have to come up with jokes, I shouldn't come up with jokes. Just stand there.
And
Just
he can do stand-up if he wants to.
Yeah.
If he wants to go on the road.
For sure.
That's how you know Cedric is doing well, though. It's like, it was a great gig, but what happened? The GW Bridge. I'm not going over the GW Bridge. It's not doing it.
Exactly. No, that's so true.
Yeah, I'm not driving.
Yeah,
No, I'm not driving.
not leaving the city.
That's ridiculous. No way. I'm not doing that. It's a whole bridge you got to go over.
Are you here or West Coast?
I'm West Coast. I'm Los Angeles based. I've been out there since like 94. I'm from St. Louis originally, and then my wife is a California girl, and that's it. They don't move, California girls.
When Spike Lee came to you guys originally,
Yeah,
and said, let's make a movie out of this tour.
yeah.
Did you believe it was?
Well, the thing is that the tour had been going, and so we actually had an opportunity to pick Spike Lee. So
Wow.
we were the ones doing the tour, and then many people came, but Spike was, of course, he was the guy that was, can represent the culture and shoot it in a way that we knew would give us that kind of credence that we needed. And so, of course, he loved it. He came and saw us perform live a couple of different places, loved the world, loved to laugh. And so we knew that he was the right person to shoot that movie, man.
And was it always like, this is a theatrical movie we're making, not a comedy special?
Yeah, that was the whole thing about having like that kind of director, was to shoot it like a movie.
Yes.
And so, Kings of Comedy literally has some of the longest legs of a movie like that. That still works. It still gets a lot of play.
Yeah.
People love it when they see it. And even though the suits are a little dated, for sure.
Yeah, sure. Styles change.
But that's the kids. What do they know? These kids don't know anything.
That's right.
We wore 18 buttons back then. It's gonna take me
Big deal jackets were a little longer. That's how we wore them.
It was a cloak jacket. What is that? I had to get off my horse and carriage.
Was it pure stand-up, or was there backstage and other things, or was it just the whole thing was just stand-up?
No, it was all stand-up, but then we showed backstage. We showed us, like kind of hanging out, tour bus stuff. It was a couple of really fun scenes there. They showed me like in the dressing room getting ready, the warm-ups and all that kind of thing. So that movie is like really fun, but it was really a stand-up movie, but done, film style.
But the fact that it was a theatrical movie, I think for a lot of people, they probably weren't exposed to stand-up comedy at all, because when that came out, it's like it was like nowadays stand-up is everywhere. It's all over the internet. It's all over everything. But I don't know when that movie came out how much stand-up I had actually seen.
Yeah.
But you see this trailer, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna go see that movie, and you're like, oh, this is kind of that first exposure to 90 minutes of pure stand-up.
And it was funny because people had done it had been a few arena tours before us, but I think even like Eddie Murphy's Raw may have been
prior. Did Live in Concert was a theater release,
right?
Yeah.
But like this was that group of people, kind of like a Superfest or like a Coachella kind of thing,
right?
Where you saw your favorites all together. That idea hadn't really been done in comedy, so that was really special. We had a blast doing it, and it's one of those things. I don't know if you can put it back in the bottle. People always like, "Yeah, can you do it again?" And it's like, and plus Bernie Mac has passed, and it wouldn't even feel right doing it without B Mac.
And what were you guys doing? Like 25 minutes each, something like that.
Like 30 minutes each. Come on, man.
You want to do 30 minutes in front of a packed arena?
Yeah. Just kill, and then you can switch it like each night. You don't necessarily. That's the thing about it, because we go work on an hour, or you have a lot of material. But then, when you have a compacted set where you just know that you literally walk out and just hit you with bombs, pop, 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 pop. Good night. You're like, wow.
And how often do you have a tour like that where everyone blows up from it? It's not like that was a vehicle.
In my case, never.
And you're by yourself.
Yeah. You go like, how often?
If I blow up, do you mean implode?
Yeah, you go full Submariner. No, but I mean, like, it's not like that was a vehicle for one of you guys.
Right.
Everyone went sky high after that.
Yeah, man, and it's so great. I mean, actually, I did my charity tournament, and Steve and DL was there. Like, that was like about 3 weeks ago. And the fact that we hadn't really all been together in so long, it was just really special to have that bond. But everybody's doing their thing, Steve, DL, myself, everybody's having a great time doing it. And, of course, Bernie had that TV show and would be out of here if he was still around.
100%.
He was just one of those guys. We were just talking about how that's so interesting, like in this new socially, politically correct cancel culture. Like, a lot of that stuff wouldn't work, Like,
that's true.
Like some of those jokes would be like, no, I'm sorry, you got to pull that one.
But there is something about the fact that Bernie has passed, but his work is here. That there are still new fans, that are finding it now, and they can't cancel him if they try, right? So it's like, well, I guess we just have to enjoy.
You got to just like, that's who he was. That's a lot.
But also, when you're doing those jokes in arenas, it makes it harder for people to say, like when Dice got in trouble, like it was like you're in an arena and there's 18,000 people laughing. It's really hard there's a lot of people enjoying it. It's hard for anyone to go, oh, that's offensive.
That's so true, because when you're in the comedy club, it's so right there, and people can it can trickle, and they got an opportunity to yell back at you. But like you're right, in a big arena, like it's the jokes are hitting you, and you're trying to keep it going. So but. Right now, we're in a business where, being very acutely aware of what you're saying in a joke is something you have to kind of take, you have to really take that account. You can't just be free to, like, let something come out of your mouth because you got an idea that you think this might be funny.
Which is why it's a good time to be a writer.
Yes.
And the book.
No, it's not. They're on strike.
well,
I meant a novelist.
A those writers. Okay.
Good time to be a novelist. Flipping Boxcars, the debut novel. from Cedric the Entertainer. It releases today.
Yeah, man.
Go out there and get it. He's doing a book signing tomorrow at Barnes & Noble on 5th and 46th.
And Newark, too, right?
At
Isn't there
12
something?
p.m.
Yeah,
He's
tonight.
Yes, at the Newark Symphony Hall tonight. He'll be in conversation. So
Yes.
There, Newark at
Nice.
Symphony Hall.
That's classic.
Yeah, it really does sound
In
very, very
conversation.
upscale.
Conversation with
Yes.
Cedric.
A gentleman's evening.
And then also signing at Barnes & Noble at the Grove in Los Angeles Thursday at 7 p.m. And then there's a couple more in conversations happening
Nice.
in Santa Monica, in St. Louis. You can go to IamCedric.com or Ced Entertainer on Twitter for all the information.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, congrats,
man. It's
Take
great
care,
talking
man.
to you.
Appreciate it, man. You guys are great, man. I thank you so much for having me. And yeah, people go grab the book, man. You know, I'm outside.
Yeah, enjoy it. It's a
Yeah.
great thing, man.
All right,
Enjoy it.
Absolutely.
All
We'll
right.
see you guys tomorrow.
Yep.
I holla.